A prospect generator is someone that has multiple different projects at different levels of exploration. That means that Latin Metals gets the upside of multiple companies drilling on different projects. Potentially, like let's say in the next few years, we have about 75,000 meters of drilling that will be getting done on multiple properties. Currently, we have AngloGold Ashanti and Moxico Resources as our current partners. And those two, I have to say, like Moxico Resources has Esperanza, and Esperanza had the third best copper intersection in 2018.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Next Big Rush. Today, I have a very special guest here. I know you're going to love her. She is Alicia Patterson with Latin Metals. And I'm very keen on having her on because we're going to get a little bit of I don't want to say a warning. Let's go for something lighter. A lesson on why you should take a look at her company because of the business model of her company and why you really should watch out what they have coming up in 2025. Alicia, welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. It's a pleasure. I'm really excited to let all your guests and people that follow you know about Latin Metals.
Cool.
We are a prospect generator. So what is a prospect generator?
That's my question. What is a prospect generator? Let's start it because it's 2025. There's lots of newbies coming onto the scene, and they're gonna ask what in the heck this means.
A prospect generator is someone that has multiple different projects at different levels of exploration. So why investors should matter is that it's less dilution for a company or for an investor and for the company because we don't do any drilling. Our partners fund the drilling, like AngloGold or other ones that we have, like Moxico Resources. They haven't started drilling, but potentially this year they will. And that means that Latin Metals gets the upside of multiple companies drilling on different projects rather than we raise lots of capital and drill our own projects. Potentially, like let's say in the next few years, we have about 75,000 meters of drilling that will be getting done on multiple properties. So that's, I think, a major upside for an investor.
I usually say as a warning to investors everywhere that the junior mining space is usually a race against dilution, right? The whole purpose of an exploration company is to find something of value faster than how much money they need to raise while they're trying to add value to it. And that's a really difficult race. And let's be honest, in the last, call it 5-10 years, most of the exploration companies in the space have not done a great job because the market has been not awesome. It's now picking up again, finally, but also because their business model is just to raise a bunch of money, spend a bunch of money, drill something, and then try to impress the market enough that their share price appreciation will make up for what they're doing. Tell me a little bit about like what does 75,000 meters look like? Like that is just outside of reality for a company of your size. I think it's very impressive. Tell me a little bit more about the drilling that's all going to happen and the partnerships that you have.
Perfect. Well, I just want to say, drilling is sexy. As a prospect generator, we're not sexy. We are like tried and true. And I have to say, for the last 3 years, it's been very hard as a prospect generator because how we move is through partners and through strategic partnerships. And I can say that we've gone out to get partners, and it's just been very hard because of the market. And the last few months, since I say like October, September, we're having majors come to us again. We're having people knock on our door and going, hey, you have a massive land position. What can we do? Can we go on the ground? And so we're having more boots on the ground with majors. And I think that's something really exciting because you can see that market shift. And so that's something really interesting. And with us, currently, we have AngloGold Ashanti and Moxico Resources as our current partners. And those two, I have to say, like Moxico Resources has Esperanza and Hoachi. And Esperanza had the third best copper intersection in 2018. And I think that's something pretty interesting. So they actually they have a surface permit, so they're doing groundwork on there, and they have actually started doing the community engagement. So when I say about 75,000 meters of drilling, if you take multiple of our partners and multiple permits and drilling programs, that's how you get to that level of currently with
That's the
Moxico
target.
Resources. That's a target. So it's just with not just one, like with, I would say, with one company, you have a certain, they want to get a couple, a couple thousand meters of drilling, but we have multiple different projects. And so this is how we can say the upside is not just one shot on goal. We have multiple shots on goal with multiple companies that can aid with that level of expertise and know-how and research. So that's something a little bit different than just one management team. We do the initial exploration, and then they take over and do the rest. And AngloGold, they're looking for a minimum 5 million ounces. They're not going to drill a property or even hold a property if they don't think that's what that property entails.
The potential needs to be there, and if they go into it, then that is the potential that they currently see in that project. So before we go into projects, something I always like to take a look into is the people behind the project, because that tells a little bit of a story. I think there's a couple of M&A transactions that have happened with some of your team. And tell us, what do they bring to the table? Who are these people? Is it just random people, staking claims all around South America, or do they have some track record here?
Well, I think Keith Henderson is our CEO and president of Latin Metals, and he just actually got approval from the shareholders, and they just sold Velocity Minerals, sold 59 million for their Bulgarian assets. So the company sold all the Bulgarian assets for 59 million USD. So I think that's something pretty, substantial. And he's been in the space for quite a while. And he used to work for Anglo American Exploration. And so he is he knows his stuff, I have to say. And then, something really interesting is Eduardo Leon is our exploration manager. And he actually lives in Peru. And he has been with a few different companies, but he's been with us for the last 6 years. And I think he brings something unique to the table. He looks at mineralization, he looks at different data aspects, and looks at how we can acquire land that might have been overlooked or overseen beforehand. So we've actually staked a lot of ground from how he's kind of looked and saw, the Cooper Schiefer belt in Europe. And he kind of was like, oh, you know what? I think this could be sediment hosted copper. This is where I think this is in Argentina. And so now we've actually got 550,000 hectares and got it in this area. And we're now proving his concept. And we do have sediment hosted copper there. So he's very, I don't know what the word would be, but I like to say that he knows his things and look at the data, but not just the data, but can kind of look and see where other places could have this belt, and very analytical, but also kind of, I don't know, how would you describe it, but
pick the right locations, I guess.
Yeah, like an entrepreneur, of like mining. Like he can see the ground, and he kind of, I would not talk to the ground, but he can kind of see where the mineralization
some people do. Some people,
yeah, maybe he does talk to the ground, but everything that we've staked, everything that we've gone, we found something. With Para, Vale had it beforehand, and now we have that data from Vale, and they have the first right for that property. And so everything that we've acquired has been of something of value and merit.
Very good.
And I think it's really the team and everything behind it. So, and he's really been an entrepreneur and finding these hidden gems, one would say.
Perfect. And just as an aside, and this has nothing to do, well, it does have something to do with this conversation, but it wasn't, it's something that was brought to me by a third party, completely unrelated to this. Somebody who really knows their stuff when it comes to both geology and copper and where we're going with the copper markets has told me that where they see copper going from a future perspective is that the deposits that are going to make it, that are going to be built into mine, are going to be sedimentary hosted copper deposits. So, I'm no geo, and I'm not saying, that this is the gospel, but this is a completely unrelated person that has said this with a very high degree of certainty and a very great track record to say, like, this is what's going to fill the gap of when we see copper demand absolutely skyrocketing and the current mines not being able to catch up. That's what's going to eventually fill the gap. It's just that awesome. So let's talk about projects. What is interesting with the projects that you have? And tell me a little bit about the deals that you have with the two companies that you mentioned, Anglo and Moxico.
Yeah, so I have to say those are two near-term catalysts of what's going to come down the pipeline. AngloGold Ashanti has Originigo, and we've had that property. They've signed it since 2021. They've been working on that on that property, and so now they are just finished, or they're finishing the community relations, the town hall meetings, and once everything is finished with that, we should expect a permit pretty shortly. Potentially, we have one, and that's really exciting because we've been waiting for a while for that. And once we have that, this is something that they are looking for 5 million ounces minimum. So they are really going forward with that property. So that should be potentially drilling on that project in 2025.
Beautiful.
And as brands, I like to say that it has the 2018 best copper intersection. And that one we potentially should have drilling either the end of 2025 or beginning of 2026. And with that, actually, is something really interesting. The predecessor company wasn't Latin Metals. It was actually like a regular junior mining company. And in 2018, Keith was the CEO of that company and put the results out, and the stock went down. The stock price went down. And so what they decided to do was stop everything. And that's how Latin Metals became Latin Metals, is because into the prospect generator model, is because the market didn't see the valuation of this. And so that's why we had a lot of more Argentina properties and Peru properties, because it was the predecessor company. And so they're a little bit more longer down the expiration.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So you have more info because that was your flagship property, basically. And then the market didn't give you enough love for it. And then you realized that you had to change your business model to, I guess, accommodate what the market was telling you, that it didn't want anything. It didn't want copper. It didn't want exploration. It didn't want anything, back in, I guess, 2018, 2019, which sounds about right. Everything was not exactly up for all those years, but now things are looking really interesting. And we're going to show a few different slides, and we're going to show a little bit of your projects as we speak about them. And I want to make sure that my video editor highlights the hit. I think it's 100. Don't quote me on this. I think it was 158 meters of like 0.7, 0.8, something like that. Copper, which in this market would do something.
Yeah, but 2018, that's when it's perfect. But it sell it, apparently. So
but it was missed. Yeah, it was missed.
So this is why Latin Metals is Latin Metals, because of that drill hole, really, and the
Interesting.
results. So that's something interesting. I think that your people or people watching
Hmm.
go, oh, okay, well, I guess that they decide to rejig it.
Yeah.
And then we've stayed true to the prospect generator model. We
Hmm.
haven't drilled anything. We keep on going out and grabbing different properties, doing a little work on them. Like our property in Laccha in Peru has a drill permit associated with it. We're looking for people to come, and now we have potentially we have maybe prospects for companies for those ones. We
Interesting.
have Cerro Bio was with Barrick. Barrick spent a lot of money. Now we can option it out with other people, and we actually have a drill permit associated with that project now. And we can actually give it to another company with a drill permit associated. And Barrick did all the groundwork to actually find targets.
Let,
So,
let me tell you about something, Alicia. I've been noticing this just for my own investing purposes. I am looking at different projects that are today really great. Resources out, PEAs out, etc. The projects are moving forward. And some of them you know for a fact that they're going to become a mine. I would say most of them that come to my head, more than 50% of the ones that I have in mind, specifically in Latin America, they were first touched by a major. And the major is like, oh, actually, shiny object, we're looking into Africa right now. And we're going to drop, everything that didn't immediately show us what we wanted. And we're going to focus on this other shiny object here. And then somebody else picks it up and does something absolutely amazing with it and finds all the gold, all the copper, and everything else that
well, that's exactly like
fits.
I don't understand really why Barrick would drop it, but I heard that Barrick might change their name. So, maybe that's not our property, but maybe it's an internal thing with them.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see who picks it up and who can make something
Yeah.
out of that project that you guys
Yeah,
have.
because we now have a drill permit. So that's another thing that as soon as someone comes on as a partner for that project, there's drilling there too.
It's drill ready.
Yeah. So we're ready. Drill baby drill.
Awesome, awesome. In fact, we need to have a conversation. If you're drill ready, we need to have a conversation offline because I might know something. Or I don't know, but there might be a business opportunity here for myself and others. Awesome. So we've talked about, what's interesting about the business model, a little bit about the people behind team. You have some positive results that weren't loved by the market. What's the situation now and moving forward? Should we expect lots of money to be raised? Are you going to do any marketing? What is the sequence of events from now in the next X months, and what kind of news flow can people expect?
Well, I can tell you this. I put out videos on YouTube. And so I put out project ones, like you'll find the sediment hosted copper. I did a little 5-minute video about that project. I'm trying to do more videos so people, investors, potential investors can learn about all our different properties and our projects. And also, something's really unique. About 43% of our stock is owned with management in the board. So we're very tightly held. And, I think that the market hasn't really seen what we can do, and we don't overly promote. We've waited quite a while to get things ready. But like I said, we have 3 major catalysts. We're actually heading to go to one-to-one mining conference in London. We're going to the gold show in Frankfurt. We're going to the Quebec event of the North in June, and we're doing the CM Capital event in Kelowna. We wouldn't be doing these conferences if we didn't have information to share, because I've kind of grew up in this industry, and my father has been the CEO of different mining companies, and he told me, don't over promote until you have things.
Wise
So I've
words.
taken that lesson to heart, and I don't overly promote, because I want to make sure that when people buy in and they see that the company's doing what they're saying they're doing, and it's a nice chart going up instead of a erratic one.
Yeah, I agree. I have made a ridiculous amount of money by picking companies at the right time and understanding when they're in quiet mode versus when they're in out there promoting and moving things forward mode. So it's very important for people to understand that you guys are now going to get out there, start meeting, probably retail and institutional. And looks to me like your share price has been doing quite well recently, but your market cap's still really, really small. So, I mean, any true discovery in one of your projects could potentially absolutely skyrocket your share price. Not financial advice, obviously, and we don't have a crystal ball, but that's definitely on the cards because half the stock is owned by insiders. Am I getting this right?
I think you're very smart.
Well, I'm speaking positively about your company, so
But the thing is,
but these are facts, right? These are facts.
It's facts. Like we're very tightly held, but there's we were looking at, I think there's 18% float right now, public float with like insiders and management owning, and then
that's nothing.
I think it doesn't trade a lot, and I think that this is a great time for people to look at us and put us on the watch list because once you start seeing something moving and there's news coming out, I don't think that this would be 12 cents, 13 cents. Like we were at 8 cents before. And I see the slow growth, and and this is why I like doing the videos, because I think it gives the audience and gives people going, oh, okay, I can understand about sediment hosted copper. I understand where it's going and why the so what, why is it significant for me to know this. And in majors, we're going to be in a deficit for copper, and so where are they going to look next? Now they're looking at the juniors. We're in a perfect time, I think, to break out with multiple different properties and different levels of exploration focused on copper, gold, and silver. And maybe we're going into the uranium space. Who knows? But we're always looking at different commodities. We're looking at different things because we want to be the go-to prospect generator for majors in South America.
Those are big words. I mean, the go-to prospect generator in South America. I like that. I think that's a cool goal to really aim for, because it would absolutely transform shareholder value. All of a sudden, you're not just trying to get to the next major deal. You're trying to be a company with, like you said, with several shots at the goal here. That's awesome. Is there anything else that you want to add before I let you go, as to what people should look at about your company and know? As I always say, add it to your watch list. This is one to watch because as we do expect drilling to be happening, I'm not going to speak for the company. I expect drilling to be happening this year. And lots of drilling because it's drilling by producers and larger mining companies. I do expect that if there are fireworks, this could absolutely fly. And here's the thing, you don't want to be caught in a situation where you're trying to understand the story after the results are out, right? And this doesn't take much. Go in there, understand a little bit of Latin America. What does Peru have to offer? What does Argentina have to offer? Go to YouTube and watch Alicia's videos on, the different projects and the opportunity here. Add it to your watch list. And when the news hits the news wires, and then you can make a decision, but before then, just educate yourself on what's going on, because copper is sadly really, really, really tricky. And I report on news in the junior mining space every single day. I see gold getting discovered all the time. But copper, when a good copper hits the news, companies go absolutely bananas. So I'm just going to let you sit with that thought. But yeah, Alicia, what else should investors know about Latin metals, and where can they find out more?
Well, go to our website, sign up for the emails. You'll get an email drip campaign, a little bit more information when you sign up. Follow us on YouTube and look at the videos. Also, just let everyone know, like, we run the company like roughly around $2 million a year. So, and our partner investment, I think for the next 3 to 5 years, if I'm correct, is about $80 million, contracts up to 80 million. So that's like money in the ground, that's like other things, some money to us. But if you think about that, the company, we won't be needing any more money than about that. So about $2 million is what we run on. So if you think about that, 19 million in 2025 that we have contracts coming in right now, or that we have on the books, and we want to have more partners. I think that's something, a big upside is, we don't actually put the money into the ground. We do a little bit, but then the majors and other partners actually do the drilling. So,
Awesome. And you get to capture some of that upside.
yeah, with the news flow and everything. So expect a lot more news from Latin Metals.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alicia. It's already obviously on my watch list. So I will be watching next steps for sure. And who knows, I might bump into you in one of the shows. I don't know which I'm going to this year yet, but I will be going to some. So yeah, let's make a meeting happen. And if you would like to meet Alicia and the team, then make sure to go to one of these shows that she's just mentioned, and then you can just hear the story firsthand, understand the news, and understand where they're at, and also take a deeper look. Maybe ask them some spicy questions about their projects, and find out something something juicy.
Yeah, and if you want to have a meeting with me, just go to our contact page, and you can actually schedule a meeting with me directly.
There we go. Much easier. You don't even have to leave the comfort of your own house. You can just do that. Awesome. Thank you so much, Alicia, for coming on the show. And I'm sure lots of people are going to be adding this to their watch list and see what you guys do for the next 1-2 years. Who knows? I think this bull market has legs, but I don't want to jinx it. So let's wait and see. Thank you.
So, thank you so much for having me on. It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.